Well, hello, friends. So, hello. I don't know who's in here yet, but welcome. Welcome to the stream. This is a special one-day only thing. I can see Hal Fox and Stalin was ballin', and Big Seltzer are all in here. So, you know that things are already going to get kind of crazy. And I just want to say hello. Wanted to do a stream, so I want to tell you why this stream is happening to get started. So last week I was a no-show for my Thursday stream, as I'm sure you're all familiar with. And the reason is because I changed my internet provider. Or should I say, I didn't change internet providers. I changed their level of service. I needed, after the Quiplash stream and after trouble with the Knights of Dice stream, I decided that I needed faster internet in order to be on this streaming train. Bring back So That Happened. I would really love if So That Happened was brought back. We'll get there. We'll get there. We just got to work out Cody's internet issues and everything. So I was changing my internet connection speed, but my service provider said that it would take no time at all to change. It would just be like a little things in the computer. So I plugged in my new modem that they mailed me, and we were good to go. And then they were saying, well, actually, the parent company or whatever is having a backlog of changing these modems, and so it could take up to 24 hours. And then I was like, oh, well, shit. Because that was a Wednesday. That was Wednesday afternoon. Oh my. My cats are fighting for some reason. Anyways, so I did that. I installed it and I waited for 24 hours. And it meant that I had to miss my stream. But not only did I miss my stream, I couldn't even go on my computer because apparently the mobile app, I wasn't even able to get on my mobile app and change the event and cancel it. So I wasn't even able to tell people that I couldn't make it. So I tweeted that I couldn't make it, but not everybody sees Twitter. And so I made the switch. I had to wait. It wasn't until Friday night that we actually got our internet back. So I missed the stream. And so I thought I would do an hour on Monday to say sorry and to do it again. So I'm willing to take any questions from the audience and, do the typical stream stuff. But cheers. I got some tea. Can you do a video on Alexander Hamilton versus Thomas Jefferson and their views on America's future? That is an amazing idea for a video. The Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, yeah. I think that'd be a really great idea. So, in the early American Republic, there was, two major political thought leaders, Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson. Now, George Washington didn't really have a whole lot of ideas as to how to govern. He was just, the general. So Alexander Hamilton, who was one of George Washington's, he was his personal assistant, and he was kind of adopted by Washington, was really the thought leader behind him. He was very much about America becoming a centralized country that had a strong federal government and a federal system, and wanted to the United States. They wanted to expand the amount of debt, because if they had a bond market, then there would be a financial class of people who would be loyal to the United States because they'd be financially invested in the future of the United States. And so he wanted this very, hello Fedor, hello people. And so Hamilton believed that the United States should be very, very centralized and have a powerful federal government. And he was part of a sort of his fellow leaders were the Federalists, and then Thomas Jefferson, who really wanted a agricultural, slave-focused, pastoral country, that there wasn't really a strong centralized government. There would just be a bunch of states that have kind of collective security going on, and they would all live on farms and all that kind of stuff. And so he would sorry, do the stream. I had to eat lunch really fast, and it's not agreeing with me super well. All right. So where was I? So yeah, Thomas Jefferson had this idea of this kind of agrarian republic, and was very, very much like into small government and that kind of thing. And so yeah, him and Alexander Hamilton bumped heads a lot because they were both part of George Washington's cabinet, and they were always fighting over the future of the country. And there was a thought, if it wasn't for a scandal that Alexander Hamilton got caught up in, and for the fact that he wasn't born in the United States, that Alexander Hamilton could have been president, maybe instead of John Adams or instead of Thomas Jefferson if he had run, because Thomas Jefferson got elected by running against a person named Aaron Burr, and Aaron Burr was not very well liked in Congress. And so, yeah, so Jefferson won, and Jefferson pretty much dictated the future of the country at that point. But there was a lot of like very centralized, very high government stuff that was in Alexander Hamilton's like whole position, and the ideas kind of got a little mixed up. Does makeup stream mean you're going to put on makeup? No, I just my internet was gone last Thursday, so I couldn't do a stream last Thursday. So I'm making up for it by doing one today. All right. I see Cogito's here. Nice to see you. And Fedora's here, which makes me happy. There's a bunch of you guys here. Okay. So, but yeah, I do think that the Hamilton Jeffersonian, their sort of disagreement is very central to the United States. And so that would be a pretty good video idea. So I'll write it down. Now, what would have happened if Hamilton... Well, I'll put that on the list. So, what's your favorite war? You're obviously new here. I don't have a favorite war. I typically don't like wars. They're typically pretty ugly times in American history or in world history. Probably the U.S. Civil War is the one I know the most about. It's probably the one that I've studied the most, U.S. historian, and probably had the most amount of interesting stuff, at least to me, going on when it came to the future of the United States. So I go with Civil War, I suppose. What's your opinion on the Green Party of Canada, specifically Elizabeth May? I don't really. So the Green Party. So this is the thing about Canadian politics, is that the Green Party is not exactly a left-wing party. They are a pro-environmentalist party, and then they're very much about like focus on your whole situation, like focus on your constituencies and be very local focused. And then besides environmentalism, you can pretty much do what you want. The party has about 9% of the country's support, but it's spread out so much that they only really have, I think that the most they've had is like 3 seats. Only one that actually like won the vote. And so they're a party that is very disorganized. They're very much victimized by the first past the post system. But I do think that for the policies that they have, I agree with the New Democrats on more positions than the Green Party. And Elizabeth May, while I like her a lot, she is a little bit she's a little bit of a loose cannon when it comes to being the leader of a major federal political party. There was a famous scandal a few years ago where she got drunk and at a big event and like said some stuff about Omar Khadr and all this kind of stuff that made her a little less popular. And now there's some stuff coming out about how she abuses her workers or abuses her assistants or something like that, and it's yeah, it's not looking good. But she's also shown that she has like anti-vax and maybe holds some anti-nuclear power, which I don't like, and she's also got some anti-abortion views, so there's that kind of thing. What is your opinion on hate speech laws in the UK? I actually don't know what hate speech laws are in the UK. I know in Canada it is against any speech that is deliberately done in order to attract attention to or to encourage the destruction of any particular group, either it be whether it be race, religion, creed, like country of origin, gender identity, anything like that. And honestly, it's like shouting. It's like a geopolitical version of shouting fire in a crowded theater. I don't understand the big issue. You'd have to go to Nazi Kermit in order to figure out why. Hello, Phoebe. Hey, kitty. You have to go to Nazi Kermit over at U of T to figure out why he does that. What's your thoughts on Thomas Paine? Are you familiar with his model of the Articles of Confederation, likelihood he wrote early drafts of the Declaration of Independence? I did not know that. I know Thomas Paine is sort of a person that is really big on, especially when it comes to civil liberties. And it's kind of rough in that situation. But Thomas Paine. I don't know much to say about him. Enlightenment thinker. I don't know. I see you got a new haircut. Yes, I did. I did it this morning. I'm going to Las Vegas this weekend, and I thought that having big puffy hair was not going to do very well for me. So I gave myself a nice little buzz cut, and I shaved as well. So I'm good. What would happen if Hamilton became president then? Well, Hamilton had some ideas. If you want to go with like what, because if he was president, there would have been probably some more pushes towards centralization, but not a ton would have been done because anti-federalists were still a big political constituency, and getting things done in the United States at that point was even harder than it is today. And so probably not much. But if the Federalists like got the chance to entertain all of their ideas for what America could have been, they had ideas of things like getting rid of the states. There was a point where they wanted to get rid of states as a concept and just be one federal territory, which would have been interesting. I'm not sure how that would have worked if as the country expanded, but the United States would have repaired its relationship with France and with the United Kingdom or with the Great Britain probably a lot quicker. And some things would not change. Like I think the Louisiana Purchase would have happened still. So the bigger issue, and it's debated about whether he was anti-slavery. That's another difficult thing to choose because Federalists and anti-federalists disagreed basically on the role of central government. It'd be interesting to see what a very centralized United States would be like. Although compared to Canada, the U.S. is already very centralized, but whatever. All right, let's keep going. What do you think would have happened if the D-Day landings had failed? There probably would have still been a victory for the Allies. By the time D-Day actually happened, the Allies had already been on the offensive against the Germans. The second front that Stalin was calling for over and over again was already opening in Italy, and so really the war probably would have still ended. It probably would have just taken a little bit longer because they wouldn't have had the front in France to deal with. But as far as like at that point in their history, as far as resources and the state of the war for most people, I don't think that there is a ton of people left. You think that okay? I actually probably could say a little bit more to that. I do think that no, I was thinking that maybe the Germany having a stronger position might have made them force them to a peace earlier, but it was going to be a war to the death either way. Do you think that America could have intervened in the Russian Civil War? Do you think America could have intervened in the Russians, or should have intervened? They should not have intervened in the Russian Civil War. No, that was something we don't talk about very much. But yeah, the United States and a few other Western countries tried to support the monarchy during the Russian Civil War. It didn't work. Why does everyone hate the Zionist? Mix of things. People who don't like the kind of actions that Israel is undertaking today, don't like the sort of genocidal implications of what a lot of Zionist thinking thinks of. And there's also good old-fashioned anti-Semitism. So, those all work together. Well, there are legitimate reasons to be anti-Zionist, as I said, with the whole disagreement of the displacement and destruction of the Palestinian people. But also, there are anti-Semites out there. So you gotta take your good with your bad. Opinions on Jeremy Corbyn. I know you're a Bernie supporter, so I was wondering if you feel about Jeremy Corbyn. I like Jeremy Corbyn. I haven't heard a ton. Joining the stream, they're already talking about genocide, huh? Oh, you know what we do here at Step Back History. So yeah, just Jeremy Corbyn. I like a lot of the policies he's gone for. I think that the UK would be really well off with him. I just I think he's an exciting career to be following right now. What's your favorite person in history? Mine would be Winston. I guess some people who are talking about their favorite people in history. I guess my favorite person in history, I have to say it's got to be. I think that it's got to be Emma Goldman. Emma Goldman, probably one of my favorite people in history. She was a anarchist activist in America in the late 19th, early 20th century, and she was a really great leader, a great orator. She was like a badass. She didn't give a shit. She was like a honey badger. She got deported back to the Soviet Union, and she was just she was a badass. And I've even though she was just like a activist in one period of history, I just keep returning to her over and over again as a very inspiring person to think about. She always did the right thing, even when there was mountains of reasons not to, and it cost her dearly. And I think that part's really inspiring about her. And then there's also the fact that she was miles ahead of her time. She was for trying to get people to have family planning. She's trying to spread birth control. She was active woman in a period where women weren't really encouraged to be active. And she was an anarchist. And I'm always fascinated by her. And I've anytime I can, I write. When I was an undergrad, I wrote several course essays on her, including one about her position on free love and things like that. It was she's pretty amazing. How do you feel that Mike Pence's Bunny is making its own children's book? I feel like Mike Pence's Bunny has 2 children's books. I mean, Mike Pence is a horrible monster, a absolute horrible monster. He scares me more than Donald Trump. But his Bunny didn't do nothing wrong. It's a bunny. And from what I know, this is being done by Mike Pence's wife, who I don't really know anything about. The fact that she's married to Mike Pence says a little bit. But as far as I know, the Bunny book is raising money for charity, which is all right. And then to counter it, John Oliver made a book about a gay bunny that's trying to find love and is being oppressed by a Mike Pence bug. So I like that too. I think that those are both great books, and they're both raising money for charity. And so, sure, go for it. I think that it is a political statement, and it seems like no matter how it turns out, in the general, people win, which I guess is like the best type of political argument to have. Not that I like the Pences, but I mean, can't argue about raising money for some charities, I guess. What about the influence of the ideals of the Dutch Republic on the U.S. Constitution? I'm not super well informed about that. I can't really speak to much. Let's see. Let's see where we got. Your opinion on the recent Musk family scandal. Well, I can talk about this. So for anybody who's never heard of what's going on, that's my chat. Where's my chat window? There we are. So yeah, I like Doctor Who too. I've got my. I guess you guys have been talking about the mug anyway. Anyways, so Elon Musk, like of Tesla and SpaceX and Solar City and the Boring Company and all that kind of stuff, has a father who is kind of fucked up, and his dad had a child with his stepdaughter, whom he met when she was 4, and he's like 70 something now, and she's like 30 something now. It's pretty messed up. I honestly don't care that much about Elon Musk's family or Elon Musk. I mean, what he's doing is kind of nice, but I don't really trust a billionaire to have the best interest of everyone at heart. So I don't know. I'm not like as sycophantic a follower of Elon Musk as a lot of people are. It's creepy as hell, and it's the reason why Elon Musk openly says that he hates his father. Do you think that Germany could have won World War I if America didn't join? They could have. The thing about when America joined World War I, the main thing that they contributed was fresh people and a fresh mentality, like fresh troops, fresh supplies, all that kind of stuff, into a war where everyone had pretty much burnt out their entire ability to fight wars. And so he fought. So the Americans, when they showed up, were able to tip the tide in the war in the favor of the German, or the favor of the Entente, the Western powers. In World War, and at the moment when they did join, Russia was getting ready to back out because the Russian Revolution happened shortly after the Americans joined the war. Think about 7 months after the Americans joined the war, the Russians backed out of the war. And I do think that the Americans entering at least kept that tide of war because the Russians were already were backing out. And I do think that there's a few factors that you have to take into when you talk about how that would have gone, which is one, that both Germany and the Western powers were pretty much at their wits' end. And there was a pandemic, a flu pandemic, that killed more people than World War I that happened in 1918. And I think that if the Americans didn't join World War I, they probably would have fought to an impasse because of the complications brought up by the Spanish flu. And they probably would have ended the war sort of with a status quo type situation where they weren't going to declare a winner or a loser because so many people were dying because of the flu that to a lot of people, this is something that people don't talk that much about when I talk about World War I, but the Spanish flu really destroyed both sides' capacity to fight the war. And they pretty much hasted an end to the war because they were like, well, we just can't do nothing anymore. Shit. Look, another stream with a white male. I'm sorry, Chris. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? I like pistachio. Good job. Great Dutchman. Pistachio is a very good flavor to choose. Personally, I'll go with cookies and cream. I like pistachio a lot, though. Pistachio is pretty damn good. Do you think the Aztecs and the Maya/Mesoamerican tradition of human sacrifice has been overblown, while the same tradition done by Greeks and Mesopotamians is ignored? It was overblown. It speaks to a Spanish narrative that they used to justify the conquest of Mexico. That being said, the Maya didn't practice human sacrifice to a huge extent, but the Aztecs very much did. It was a religious, political, and intimidation tactic that was very widespread and very important in Aztec society. How overblown it was, I'm not sure, but definitely intentionally not understood, because human sacrifice in Aztec society had a very different religious purpose than the people who conquered them thought they had, and the people, even for the concept we have today. And I think that even though the Aztecs did practice a lot of human sacrifice, that we would probably do best to think through to think about why they did it. And it has to do with, there's a lot of anthropological reasons that have to do with the politics of the region, the kind of the way that the Aztec Triple Alliance kept themselves together. Like, the Aztec Triple Alliance had a system of tribute and conquest that was actually fairly fragile, and the human sacrifices were a way to keep that system in check. But on top of that, the Aztecs had an actual, like, very strong cosmological belief that if they did not perform human sacrifices regularly, that the world would end. And they typically would use big displays of human sacrifice as a way to show their power, because Tenochtitlan, or the Mexica, the tribe that basically ran the Aztec Empire, was fairly... the Aztec Triple Alliance was fairly... was held together through violence, and so this was like a way to assert their power. All right, I'm talking in circles. I did not know that much. I mean, there's a lot of pre-Christian Europe practiced human sacrifice, so it doesn't surprise me. What do you think about Archimedes? I think he was one of the greatest people in history. When I think of Archimedes, this is the worst, because, like, I'm not super much of a classicist. When I think of Archimedes, I think of two things. I think of the death ray that he may or may not have invented. I think the jury's still out on that. And I think of the bird from Merlin's bird from the Black Cauldron, the Disney movie. Why don't you invite an actual Native American to explain instead of white-splaining your interpretation? Well, Chris Jones, I like your sentiment. I threw the stream together at the last second, and I'm just answering questions that people asked me. I'm just giving the information that I have. I didn't premeditate the stream very much. As far as talking about things like what I was talking about with pre-Columbian Mexica people, I've read quite a bit on it, and even though there are some descendants of the Mexica who are still alive today, who live in rural areas around Mexico City, there's not that much of a cultural connection. Most of the cultural, like the language and a lot of the artwork and a lot of their cultural practices had been destroyed by the Spanish after the conquest. So not a ton has survived. There is a form of Nahuatl, which they do speak, and they do practice some forms of Mexica-inspired rituals, but there's been a very, very, especially with the Mexica people, and especially with the Tenochtitlani, I should platform Native Americans. What's it called? Like I get people on my stream who will take my calls. I don't like I feel like I would be very I don't think I have that much of a platform. I try to do whatever I can. If you know somebody who would talk to me, sure, I would totally do it. Okay. All right, Chris, I think you're kind of just I've been trying to oh gosh. There's really no way to make you happy. So there's nothing I can say that'll make you happy. Sorry. Like, I try my best. I only have so much ability to do things. If I had like a radio show or a television show or, you know, a huge audience, then yeah, I would probably be in a better position to talk to people. But, you know, either way, I appreciate your criticism, Chris Jones. I know that I feel like I'm being defensive, and I am, and I should stop that. I acknowledge that in the position I'm in, I don't get a ton of opportunities to talk to people who are closely connected to the work that I'm talking about, which makes me a little sad. It's a question of resources. It's a question of finding the right people to talk to and people who are knowledgeable. Something I should definitely consider. It's just that yeah, I should work on it. All right. Either way. What are your thoughts on the whole Russia situation? Moving along. The Russia situation, I do think that in many ways is legit. I'm actually, my video that comes out at 2 is about Vladimir Putin. And I do have a lot of things that Vladimir Putin makes me worry about. Hello, Shikar. Vladimir Putin makes me worry quite a bit. And the Russia situation, I do think that there is legitimacy to the stuff that's going on with vis-a-vis Russia and the messing with the U.S. election and that kind of stuff. I do see there is some of that involved. I'm not sure how deep it goes. I don't think anybody does except, you know, maybe Mueller or Putin himself. But Russia is being used, especially fear and trying to drum up hatred of Russia and Russians in general, is being used to making fear or to drum up fear against like in order to attack the Trump regime without addressing the problems that the Democratic Party had in order to get him elected. And I think that it's sometimes a diversion tactic, but I still think there's legitimacy to it. All right. What are your views on Plato and his political values? Plato had terrible political values. He basically was like, rich people should run everything. Philosopher king, that kind of crap. Yeah, it's dumb. I think that we should not be trusting political ideas from somebody who lived in a city-state over 2,000 years ago. What is the role of the Governor General of Canada? Are they like the king or the president? Kind of. The Governor General of Canada, so the Governor General of Canada, his or her role is to be the representative of the queen or king in government. Most of the time, this is ceremonial. The Governor General has the power to open and close Parliament, but the governor general really only does this when the prime minister asks them to. And so very often come in, they just do, it's almost a ceremonial role. And then the governor general title is something that somebody uses to go around and like drive awareness to certain issues and talk about things in order to keep that going. There are some cases, though, where the governor general has been used for political means. Famously, Stephen Harper convinced the governor general to prorogue parliament in order to not talk about a bill that was really unpopular. And governor general, yeah, and that, like that kind of stuff. It's a relic from our colonial past and the fact that we're a monarchy. Where does Canada stand on the whole Russia situation? Canada is very, very big on being anti-Russia. Canada has a large Ukrainian population in our country. And so being anti-Russia is good politics. Stephen Harper made a huge stink and tried to act like he was going to personally invade Russia, like one man, during the annexation of the Crimean Peninsula. And Russia and Canada takes a very hardline anti-Russia statement because it makes, at least the prime ministers at the time always remember that Ukrainians vote in big numbers. So they typically, so yeah, Canada does it for internal politics reasons. The girl you done notice. What are we making up for? Well, I just noticed you, girl, that I done notice. I had my internet was out last week, and so I missed my stream, and I wasn't able to cancel the event. So this is me saying sorry and doing a quick stream on Monday. Do it. So Tristan, do you think that you handled the Israeli videos good? We shall see. I think I have a friend who is probably one of the most informed people that I know about the Arab-Israeli conflict. And I had him read my scripts. He was able to get back to me on one case. All right, Jiffy Chips, take care. I'll be back on Thursday. So anyways, I got distracted. Yes, so I had my friend who's a very well-informed person on the Arab-Israeli conflict read my script for the first part. He didn't read the second one. I asked him to, but he was too busy. And I think he seemed to like some things. He gave me some things that I should add. And I don't know if I got the opportunity to do so before. It's super hard to get well-sourced, reliable stuff from Palestinian perspective. So in many ways, I have to read against the grain and try to figure out what's going on without the right perspectives. And it's hard as a historian to do that. I mean, it's part of the historical research process, but yeah, I hope I do well. I have part one uploaded and patrons can see it. So if you're a patron of Step Back, you can watch the first part of the Israeli video now. And I'm doing the second part today after the stream. Basically, I'm getting back to work on it. So stuff's happening. But yeah, I hope I did well. I was very careful with this one. There we go. So we'll see what happens on Thursday when the Israeli video comes out. Oh, everyone's wondering how to pronounce his name. His name is Shakar. He's my Israeli fan. What's your favorite big cat to hug? You know, tigers, lions. Oh, my. I feel like hugging any of those would not be a safe thing to do. Maybe a tiger because they're big and warm. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. It's a strange question. Yeah, the Iran nuclear deal for North Korea would be great if the United States wasn't already complaining about the if some Americans were already complaining about the Iran deal. What's your most controversial history opinion? Whew. Probably my most controversial history opinion is that I don't think that the American Revolution was a good idea. I think that it was a war by slave owners and wealthy elites who wanted to lower their own taxes, and they masked it in flowery language in order to convince people to fight in a war against their best interests. And very often they didn't want to fight, but they were coerced to anyway. What do you think will happen in the future regarding Israel-Palestine? Well, Michael Kirshner, I am not optimistic for the short-term future. I think that I kind of get into this at the end of part 2 of my Israel video, but I do think that to create a lasting peace in Israel and Palestine would take many years of forgiveness, reconciliation, mutual understanding, compromise, and like somebody making the first move, like somebody reaching out their hand when they know that they could be slapped. And I don't see either side doing that anytime soon because the cycle of violence has been going on for so long that it would take an absolute saint to be the person to do it. And everyone seems to just wanting to double down. I think that the Oslo peace process was like a once-in-a-generation opportunity to do something like that. And both sides ruined it for each other. What do you think about the fact that many history books praise slightly more democratic aristocracies and oligarchies as democracies, even though only single digits of the population could vote? Yeah, it's hypocritical. I mean, you're going to have sliding scales of... You'll have sliding scales of applicability depending upon the period. I mean, how much democracy you can expect in like the 1600s is not... Yeah, it's different. But... yeah, there are definitely a lot of people who assume that things are or who kind of give the impression that places were way more democratic than they were. What do you think the world would be like if there was no American Revolution? I think that that would have changed so much of our history that it'd be hard to predict. Maybe you should ask Cody or Matt Mitrovich that question. I bet they'd probably think it through better than I could. But while we're here and we got some time, I could try to say a few things, which should be, I don't know. The British. There's a lot to think through on that one. I guess I really couldn't do it at the moment. Do you think that China will soon outdo the United States as the world's greatest superpower? I think that that's going to happen sometime before the end of Trump's presidency. China is kind of asserting itself in a really big way, and America is very dedicated to its own decline. So I think there's going to be, yeah. You played Quiplash on Twitch yesterday after your game, and my God, so much racism there. I am very sorry, Game Gyro. U.S. media praise for the Saudi monarchy is disgusting. Do you like Jaffa cakes? I do like Jaffa cakes. I've only ever had them once, but they were good. I bought them because people have been talking about them. I bought them at the British store. And yeah. So Serge Zhao Zhao, when I'm referring to Oslo, it is the Oslo Accord. The Oslo Accords were it's a statement about when the prime minister of Israel and Yasser Arafat met in the 90s to try and work out a solution for Israel and Palestine. And it was a long process that took several years and eventually fell apart because neither side was able to do anything, or neither side was able to trust each other. Did you guys see Trump waving around the poster board of military equipment we're selling to the Saudis? Nope, I haven't seen that, but I wouldn't be surprised. If you're talking about with demography, like China being a billion people, like if demography really in that sense is the destiny, then India is also on track to becoming a world superpower. And when I look at like the BRIC countries like Brazil, Russia, India, and China, I always think, man, out of all those countries, I think I want to put my money in with the Indians, because the rest of those countries, some of them they worry me a bit. Have you kept track of Chinese developments in Africa? I only know a little bit. I watched a Vice documentary a few years ago about how the Chinese are investing a lot in Africa because there's a lot of raw resources to get out of there, and they're building infrastructure to ship raw resources out of Africa and sending it to China. And this results in a lot of really unfair, like it's kind of like almost a new colonization, but to some extent, the reason why they are dealing with China is because China doesn't care if you're a brutal dictator. They'll work with anybody. It's definitely not great. Do you think that Trump will be a two-term president or will he get impeached? I think that Trump could be a two-term president. It's not guaranteed, but he could be, especially if the Democrats if the Democrats choose like another empty suit to run for a president. I can see Trump winning again. I don't think he would win again with a Democratic government. I think that by 2020, you're going to have a fairly safe Democratic government, but you're not going to have a Democratic president, because you have to defeat Trump, you're going to have somebody that they want to vote for, and there's not that many of them. What historians do you recommend on Israel and Palestine? I'm not sure at the moment. I'd have to go back and look at what I was reading. There's Game Gyro. What's AMRA? The American Revolution. China has always been semi-united, especially the Yellow River area. India is more busy trying to unite its country, while China already has that done in far greater position now. Its geography leans more towards unification than India's. Okay. Do you think the Republicans will change the Constitution to remove presidential term limits? No. I think that there are just enough Republicans. I think that changing the Constitution in any divisive way whatsoever would never work, especially something like getting rid of term limits. I don't think that there's anybody who – I don't think there's enough support. There's ever going to be enough support for a unlimited term limits run-on presidencies. And I think that Trump also seems to want smaller term limits, not longer term limits. Although he did kind of half-jokingly say that he wanted to be president for life, but I have hope that was a joke. I hope. All right, we have 10 minutes left. Let's rapid fire some questions, yo. See, we're working on an alternate history scenario about the American Revolution. Yeah, but you already see like the French Revolution wouldn't happen. Like already you've like completely ruined all of history. Yeah, there are, Great Dutchman's. There is a lot of people who are saying that Trump is eating so unhealthily and he's like having such a stressful life that, and he doesn't exercise, that Trump might die. That he just might flat out die before the end of his term because he's just treating himself so terribly. Are there any major revolutions you thought were overall good? Yes. I think the Haitian Revolution was very good. I think its ideals were very pure. And I think that it was a good thing to have happened. So the Haitian Revolution, for sure. Good video on Ethiopia last week. Thank you, Shakar. Have you considered a video about Kashmir? I should. All right, yeah, I got those. Our cat's cute, and should I name my cat as my prime minister, then become the first Terran emperor? W.R. Costin, that sounds like a great idea. Haitian Revolution was a successful slave revolt where they threw out colonial powers and became the first Black Republic. Can't complain about that. The partition of India, that would be another good one. Because, yeah, there was a lot of weird chaos going on in the partition of India. Oh, that's some good tea. Oh, boy. As far, oh, yeah, and so things that are coming up as far as, like, the stream goes. Tonight is Nights of Dice. So tonight I'm doing my Dungeons and Dragons stream on the Dungeon Dwellers YouTube or Dungeon Dwellers Twitch and YouTube channel. So that'll be live. Is there there's a video today? There is, yeah. I'm doing my quick step today on Vladimir Putin. There might be a resolution to the Macedonian name dispute in the near future. Would you cover the subject if it happens? Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good idea for something to do. I'd have to do a lot of reading because, as I've probably said many times on this channel, Eastern Europe is not exactly my forte, but, you know, worth a try. Yeah, so D&D stream tonight. And then there were also, what's it called? There's also something else, too, that I'm trying to think through. I have my stream on Thursday, and then this weekend I'll be away. I'm going to Las Vegas. So, yeah. Las Vegas. It'll be fun. I'm going to go see some blue men in a group. And I got to find a guest for April's Subscriber Appreciation Day. Usually I have somebody in mind, but I haven't thought of somebody yet. I have to think of that through. What music are you into at the moment? Well, Richard Cunningham, I have been into listening to the Hamilton soundtrack quite a bit. It helps me focus quite a lot. Yeah, the Hamilton soundtrack, that's kind of destroyed. I already had ContraPoints on my channel. I'm thinking of talking to, okay, I'd like to talk to Mike Scutchbury. I think that would be a really cool interview. Also, I'm not sure if I like Pie in the Sky. I would love to talk to Adam Conover. Philosophy Tube would be pretty cool, yeah. Philosophy Tube would be really great. Adam Conover, I'm a really big fan of his, and he's doing a history series right now on True TV. And if his publicist would let him, I would love to have Adam Conover come on this. It'd be so much fun. Adam ruins Step Back History. It'd be pretty fun. Philosophy 2 would be good. I actually have had I know that Ollie would take my emails, so maybe we could work that out. He's in the UK, though, so we might have to do it earlier. Happy Passover. Well, happy Passover, Shakar. Three Arrows. Man, yeah, this Three Arrows guy, everyone keeps talking about him. I should really check this channel out. Are you a fan of Super Chats? I rarely see anyone using it. I mean, I've received a couple Super Chats in my life. Not that many, but, you know, yeah. I get a little bit of money from the Super Chats on So That Happened, which is nice. But I haven't gotten any on. I haven't gotten that many on Step Back, but they are a thing that I think are good. You can do them. I would appreciate it. Probably a way to get your question moved up to the top of the pile super fast. Thank you for doing that. I swear that's not a planted question, or is it? No, it's not. Oh. I don't know. I've been thinking about getting Adam Kahn over for Subscriber Appreciation Day for a long time. I think it'd be crazy. It'd be weird. I don't know how much I'd want to talk about college humor as much as his like crazy American history series, but you know. Tristan the Capitalist trying to get your money. I am sorry, Big Seltzer. I only like money because I like paying my bills. I only ask because some content creators prefer people just become a patron. Yeah, well, girl, you don't notice, like, the thing about getting money to do stuff is like, well, one of the things is super chats and like PayPal.me. Like, there's some people who want to support you or they want to like tip you for one particular thing that they liked, and they are not necessarily committed to doing like a monthly thing. Now, the monthly patronage is preferable because it makes it so I can like rely on that income and I can like budget around it. But if you want to toss me like, you know, $2 or $3 because you really liked a video I did, or you know, just as a thumbs up or something, like, yeah, I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to get Step Back to be a full-time thing, and at the moment it's kind of like a part-time job. I'm kind of this awkward phase where it's taking a full-time job's amount of time, but it's not paying a full-time job's amount of salary, and so I'm trying to find a way to get my jobs, get everything working. So, you know, that's I appreciate whatever anybody is willing to do to help me to make Step Back something that I can do as a full-time career, so that I can make it better and keep it going. At least keep it going at the rate that it's going. I do like Sean, so Three Arrows might be a good person to talk to. Do you have any future videos planned? Yes, I have several videos planned. I have a lot of videos that I'm working on. Let me just we don't have a ton of time, so I just got to check them real quick. But I have plans to make videos on taxes, the Wild West, the 8-hour workday, know your fantasy about dwarves, the scientific racism, folk tales, and talking about Slender Man. Gnosticism, the Iranian Revolution, because I passed that. I passed a threshold, a stretch goal on Patreon. Part 2 of the American history series, Brief History of Germany, where I'm working with Emperor Tiger Star on a video. Brief History of Quebec for Saint Jean Baptiste, and talking about the history of marijuana, because marijuana is going to become legal in Canada very soon, and the Lavender Scare. That is every video I plan on making until July, unless something changes. The 8-hour workday video I'm researching for May Day, for International Workers' Day. But yeah, I plan out a lot in advance because I have to film them and I have to write scripts and everything like that, and it all takes a long time. And we are coming close to the end of the show. It went by so fast. All right, friends. I'm going to give you guys a link So Thursday, come into the stream. I'm going to do another stream at 1 o'clock, and we're going to get ready for the release of the Israel video that everyone has been so excited for. So, yeah, super excited. What's my favorite video I made? So if you have any questions they want to talk about, I'm going to be back on Thursday. So, yeah. I don't really know my favorite video. My favorite video would be a tough one to call, too. I've made so many. Oh, my! Well, thank you so much, Girl You Don't Notice. That is you are a wonderful, wonderful person. I appreciate all that you've done. Oh my. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. Either way, it's 2 o'clock. A new video is live. You guys should watch it. And then, you know, like, share, subscribe, etc. And I hope you guys have a really good week. And I'll see you guys either tonight if you're watching. If you guys are watching tonight is Knights of Dice, my D&D show on twitch.tv/dungeons_dwellers. So you can go watch that. Or come back on Thursday. I'm going to do other way streams before my next Step Back video comes out. Peace out, everybody.